I gave my father my kidney to save his life. Months later, he announced my sister was inheriting the family business I'd worked for years to build, saying I was too emotional for leadership. Their faces turned pale when I revealed. My father lunged for the AV controls, but it was too late. The screen switched to documentation, offshore accounts, fraudulent transfers, emails about the legacy plan. Phones started chiming throughout the room. The story was breaking nationally. Ladies and gentlemen, I stood, my voice carrying in the chaos. You might want to check the business news. I believe Hughes Enterprises is trending. What have you done? My father's face was purple with rage. Business isn't personal, I smiled, pulling up Phoebe's article on my phone. I'm just showing the killer instinct you always wanted from me. Isla stumbled off the stage. Daddy, what's happening? What's happening? Rodney snarled, pushing through the crowd. Is your sister just destroyed everything? Oh no, I corrected him. You did that yourselves, I just exposed it. I turned to the shocked shareholders. You might want to call your lawyers. The SEC will have questions about those charitable donations you've been writing off. Security guards were entering the ballroom, no longer company security, but federal agents. Soleil, please, my mother grabbed my arm. Think about what you're doing to this family. Family, I yanked free. You mean the family that took my kidney, my career, and my dignity? That family. The agents were approaching Rodney, who was backing toward the exit. My father stood, stoned, still watching his empire crumble in real time. You said I was too emotional, I told him as phones continued chiming with breaking news alerts. Too invested. Well, you were right, I am emotional. I'm furious. Isla was crying, mascara running down her face. I didn't know, she kept saying. I swear I didn't know. Check your email, I told her coldly. Those messages between you and Rodney suggest otherwise. The room went silent. All eyes turned to me. Prove it, she said softly, realization dawning. You planned this, all of it. The kidney, the demotion, everything. Not the whole time, I said, walking around the table. The kidney was real, the loyalty was real, until it wasn't. Ms. Hughes, a shareholder spoke up. What exactly are you planning to do with the company? Before I could answer, the doors burst open again. Federal agents, more of them. One stepped forward. We need to ask you some questions about the night before your kidney donation. We have evidence you accessed private medical records. Mohammed was on his feet, lawyer mode engaged. My client has nothing to say without. It's okay, I held up a hand. I'll talk to them. But first, I turned to the board. There's something you all need to see. I pulled up the legacy plan on the screen. This was my father's endgame. Take the company public, strip its assets, leave you all holding worthless shares. I have proof. The room erupted again. Legal teams huddled. Shareholders made frantic calls. Ms. Hughes, the agent pressed. What about those medical records? Yes, I accessed them. My voice carried over the chaos. I found out my father was high risk for rejection, and I donated anyway. I did it because that's what family does, or should do. I turned to Isla, or should do. She sank into a chair, all fight gone. What happens now? I looked around the room at the empire I'd just burned down. Now, we rebuild properly this time. The next few hours were a blur of statements, signatures, and legal discussions. By sunset, the headlines had shifted. Hughes Enterprises under new management, whistleblower daughter takes control. As the room finally emptied, Mohammed touched my arm. You okay? I looked at my phone. Missed calls from my mother, my father's lawyer, Ila's publicist, a text from Phoebe. Stories going viral. You're trending. I don't know, I answered honestly. Ask me tomorrow. He nodded toward the agents waiting outside. What will you tell them about the medical records? I gathered my things, straightened my jacket. The truth, all of it. Isn't that what this was about? But as I walked toward the agents, I wondered, was it really about truth? Or had I just proven my father right about that killer instinct? Either way, I thought, watching Ila leave in tears, there's no going back now, the damage is done. The only question is, what will rise from the ashes? The federal investigation took less time than expected. My father pleaded guilty to reduced charges, accepting a 5-year sentence. Rodney fled to a non-extradition country. Oliver turned state's evidence, and my mother retreated to her sister's house in Maine. I sat in my old office, my office again, now reviewing the dissolution papers, not for the company, but for its old structure. Hughes Enterprises will be reborn as something new. The board approved your proposal. How's the press taking it? See for yourself. Mohammed handed me his tablet, open to a financial news site. CEO whistleblower announces radical company restructure, employee ownership model to replace family dynasty. A knock at the door made us both look up. Isla stood there looking smaller somehow, without her designer clothes and perfect makeup. Can we talk? Mohammed squeezed my shoulder as he left, closing the door behind him. Nice outfit, I said, noting her simple black dress. My assets are frozen. She sat down heavily. The investigators cleared me of criminal charges, but everything's gone. My followers, my sponsors, my reputation. I know. I pushed a folder across the desk. What is this? Your new contract, entry-level position in marketing. You'll start at the bottom, learn the business properly this time. Why? Her voice cracked. After everything. Because you're my sister. And because you're actually good at what you do when you do it honestly. She stared at the contract for a long moment. Dad's lawyer called. He wants to appeal, wants me to testify. Don't I have a choice? I leaned forward. Choose your own path this time. My phone buzzed. A news alert. Someone had leaked my father's prison intake photo. He looked old, defeated. Did you visit him? Isla asked quietly. Once. I touched my side where the surgery scar lay. He'd asked if I regretted giving him my kidney. I told him no. It taught me everything I needed to know about loyalty. She picked up the pen, hesitated. The company, what you're doing, will it work? Converting to employee ownership, splitting profits among workers, transparency in all operations. I shrugged. We'll find out. The intercom buzzed. Ms. Hughes, the hospital board is here for your meeting, send them in. I stood, gathering papers. Stay if you want, see what real leadership looks like. 5 hospital administrators filed in, led by Dr. Sarah Martinez, head of nephrology. Thank you for coming, I began. Let's discuss the kidney donation program. Dr. Martinez smiled. Your proposal to fund transplant surgeries for uninsured patients is unprecedented, along with research grants, I added. Funded by company profits, managed transparently. Why this focus? One administrator asked. I caught Isla's eye. She was watching intently, perhaps really seeing me for the first time. Because some gifts should come without strings, I answered. Without expectations, without price tags. The meeting lasted an hour. When it ended, Isla was still there. Contract signed, she said. I'll need an office. You'll need a cubicle, I corrected. Ground floor, marketing department. Report to Jessica tomorrow at 9. She nodded, turned to leave, then stopped. That email thread, the one that implicated me. You planted it, didn't you? Yes. Why? Because you needed to understand consequences, real ones, not Instagram apologies. She absorbed this, then asked, will you ever trust me again? That's up to you. I handed her an employee handbook. Start with this. After she left, Mohammed returned with the press release about the hospital program. Is it ready? And Phoebe wants another exclusive. Tell her yes. I walked to the window, looking out at the city, but first I needed to make a stop. The hospital waiting room was quiet when I arrived. A young woman sat crying while her mother held her hand. I overheard fragments, kidney failure, transplant list, years of waiting. For a moment, I was back in that same room offering my kidney to my father, believing love meant sacrifice at any cost. I left without speaking to them, but the next day their hospital received anonymous funding for the transplant program, no strings attached, no expectations, no price tags. That evening, I sat in my office reading comments on Phoebe's latest article. One stood out, they said she was too emotional to lead. Turns out she was just human enough to change everything. I touched my scar again, feeling its raised edge through my silk shirt. They wanted a killer instinct, but I'd chosen something stronger, the power to rebuild, to transform, to heal. My phone lit up with a text from Isla. First day done, it's harder than it looks. I smiled, typing back, it always was. That's what makes it worth it.